Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest high-energy updates in digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you updates every day at 9 a.m., noon, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Well, what just happened in Japan, and why does it feel like nobody's talking about how big this actually is? On the surface, this looks boring. Interest rates, central banks, policy decisions. But underneath it, this is one of those quiet shifts that changes how the entire system behaves. And if you're holding stocks, crypto, XRP, anything tied to global liquidity, you need to understand what's happening here. Before we break it down, like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel and comment. These two simple things really do help me out more than you really know. The reason I wanted to make this video, ladies and gentlemen, is because I'm seeing a lot of confusion and fear around what's happening in Japan right now. People are hearing big words, big headlines, and jumping to worst-case conclusions. And I want to explain what's actually going on. With that said, let's break this down. And I really hope you guys enjoy the content today. I want to slow all this down for you. No hype, no fear porn, just a clean explanation of what Japan just did and why it matters globally, and why a decision that took 30 years to change could reshape the financial system moving forward. And yes, we'll talk about XRP throughout this video, not just at the end, and one of my rants, as always, at the end that everybody loves. But first, let's reset the foundation, because most people truly do not understand what made Japan so different. Let's talk about Japan's zero-rate era. For decades, and I mean decades, Japan lived in a financial world that basically didn't exist anywhere else. While most countries raised and lowered interest rates, like a volume knob, Japan turned the knob all the way down and left it there. Zero interest rates, then negative interest rates. Borrowing money in Japan wasn't just cheap. Sometimes you were effectively paid to borrow. Now think of Japan like a massive dam, ladies and gentlemen. Every other country allowed small amounts of water to spill through, adjusting rates, releasing pressure gradually. Japan didn't just seal the gate shut. For 30 years, pressure built behind that wall, quietly, constantly. And now, for the first time in a generation, Japan cracked the gate open. Not because they wanted chaos, but because keeping it closed forever was becoming more dangerous than letting pressure out. The simple example. Now, if all these words sound confusing, don't worry. It's actually simpler than it sounds. Imagine you're a massive hedge fund. Japan lets you borrow $1 billion at essentially 0% interest rate, sometimes even negative. At the same time, the United States is paying you 4 to 5% on treasury bonds. So what do? You borrow the money in Japan, you move it into U.S. assets, and you earn the difference. That's it. No magic, no conspiracy, just simple math. And for years, this trade wasn't just popular, it was treated like it would never end. And this is what I first saw in my career starting out in Wall Street. People assumed Japan would stay at zero forever. And there's a lesson markets teach over and over again. A strategy works for 5 years, then 10, then 20, and eventually people stop questioning it. They stop stress testing it. They stop hedging it. They build entire careers around it and companies. And the danger isn't when the strategy breaks suddenly. It's when it breaks slowly. And nobody wants to admit it. That's what forever looks like in markets, until it isn't. Japan carry trade deep dive, ladies and gentlemen. Now, a lot of people have talked about this as the unwind of the Japan carry trade. And this has very broad implications because there's not a lot of public knowledge on what these hedge funds and firms were doing with money they were borrowing from Japan, right? We know they've been borrowing from Japan, but where did that money end up? And I guarantee you it didn't all end up in conservative U.S. treasuries. In fact, a lot of it probably ended up in fairly speculative places like the stock market and the cryptocurrency market. So now you have all these hedge funds and other kinds of funds who borrowed all this money, invested all the money, and now in a situation where all the math they did to calculate how long they could keep this going is unraveling in front of them because Japan is taking interest rates up faster than expected. So what are they forced to do, ladies and gentlemen? They're forced to sell off the assets. Now, long story short, that's essentially the Japan carry trade situation. It seems super complex, but it's actually pretty simple on its face value. Believe it or not, Wall Street uses a lot of big words and complex maneuvers, but if you really think about it, it's just borrowing cheap money and hoping the rules never change. Now, a lot of people are starting to look at this situation and say, oh, this is going to be an absolute problem for global markets. Essentially, all of these funds are going to be entirely liquidated, and that's where fear comes in. Because, ladies and gentlemen, these funds, everybody does the same thing, okay? People follow the same trades. This caused the crash in 2008 that took down Lehman, Bear Stearns. It took down everybody because everybody was doing the same thing. Everybody would take the same trade, package it up, and sell it downstream, okay? And this is why this gets very dangerous, okay? Because everybody's doing the same thing, right? Every fund that I've spoken to this week and even a year ago has always been doing the same thing. People ask me what we're doing, and I always say, well, we do the exact opposite of what you're doing, and there's a reason of why. And, we'll get into that further down the video when we update the map and other things. But again, people put their borrowed money in the riskiest things ever and it inflates assets. I told you, 1.1 trillion in U.S. Treasuries has got to come back to Japan because the Japan pension fund managers have to actually pay now to hedge. And this has been happening for quite some time, okay? So that's why the money's coming home. That's why a lot of stock prices and investment prices, the bubble is deflating. That's why everything's becoming more expensive. The party's over, ladies and gentlemen. Musical chairs just ended. Let's look at the market perspective and a black swan clarity. Some people hear this and they immediately jump to extremes, ladies and gentlemen. This is the end, global collapse, black swan, blah, 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 blah. In my opinion, that's a bad take. A black swan is something nobody's talking about until it happens. Everyone is talking about this, and everyone's been talking about this for 24 months. Everyone that I know and I sit at the lunch table with, 24 months they've been talking about this. You're watching a video about it right now. We've seen this movie before. In 1992, the British government promised it would defend the pound at all costs. They promised. And traders believed them stupidly. Until the math stopped working. Interest rates couldn't stay where they were. Currency pressure became too strong. When the assumption broke, the trade collapsed. Not because nobody saw it coming, but because too many people believed it would never happen. Markets don't punish ignorance. They punish certainty, ladies and gentlemen. Let this sink in. Markets don't punish ignorance. They punish certainty. There is no such thing as certainty. Certainty leads to getting cut up like sushi, ladies and gentlemen. That is sushi behavior. And here's the thing that the market already knows about the Japan carry trade. Prices have already moved. The pullbacks you see in the crypto and XRP reflect the fear trying to get ahead of the reality. Ladies and gentlemen, 24 months ago, people were starting to roll out of this, okay? This was something that everybody saw coming. Everybody knew that the end was coming, okay? The people who people signed their lives away like myself, so I can't tell you this, but we were getting out of the way 24 months ago, okay? Preparing to make up what we would lose by having to hedge and get out of complex synthetic positions, okay? That we did on Wall Street and a lot of derivatives, okay? So it took us 24 months, and everybody I talked to on the street and every fund to fund that I know in family office, 24 months we were getting out of the way, okay? We're going to keep going down with this story, but it's not like people didn't see the Mac wall coming that we were going to smash into. Let's talk about some micro story analogies. There's a story every trader eventually learns, sometimes the hard way, unfortunately. A strategy works for 5 years, then 10, then 20. And at some point, it stops being questioned at all. This is the most dangerous part ever, okay? People don't stress test it anymore. They don't hedge against it. They build careers on it and funds. And the danger isn't when the strategy breaks suddenly. It's when it breaks slowly. And no one wants to admit it. This is like driving a car for years with free gasoline. People didn't buy smaller cars. They didn't drive less. They assumed gas would always be free. So when the price finally changes, the car didn't break, ladies and gentlemen. The budget did, okay? It's no different when you put the analogy of frog in a pot, and you slowly start heating the water. The frog doesn't know that the water is going to start to boil. It just sits there. It doesn't get out of the way until it's done, cooked, killed, unfortunately. Think of Japan like a massive dam holding back decades of pressure. Every other country lets small amounts spill through. rising and lowering rates. Japan didn't. And now the gate is finally opening. Let's have a retail, psychological, and XRP check-in. Ask yourself honestly, ladies and gentlemen, are you afraid that in the next 30 to 60 days prices might be lower? Or are you afraid that in 5 to 10 years from now these technologies won't matter? I want to hear your comments about this, okay? I want to hear what everyone's opinions are about that. Those are very different fears, ladies and gentlemen. One is absolutely irrational. Does Japan raising rates change what XRP is designed to do? Absolutely no. Absolutely not. Does hedge fund leverage have anything to do with XRP's long-term utility? No, absolutely not. The asset itself isn't falling, the leverage is. Okay? Let's talk about some historical content and optimism for a second. After World War II, the United States was buried in debt. Rates were controlled. Liquidity was tight. People feared stagnation. Instead, innovation exploded. Constraints forced efficiency. Some of the strongest economic growth in history came after extreme financial pressure, not before it. And in 2008, institutions failed, not innovation. In 2020, confidence collapsed, but technology and adoption accelerated. Markets overshoot fear, then overshoot optimism. Let this sink in, ladies and gentlemen. History repeats. So here's my final macro story and long-term view. Every market cycle creates two kinds of people. One watches the screen every day and feels every emotion. The other zooms out, not because they're smarter, but because they understand time. They understand theta. Theta. They understand this. 5 years from now, nobody will remember these headlines, ladies and gentlemen, but they will remember who positioned themselves when the fear was loudest. I've seen this play out more times than I can count in my career, and it always feels worse in the moment than it looks in hindsight, okay? Japan ending zero rates is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen, but it's not the end of the world. It's the free money era fading and a more disciplined system replacing it. If you're patient, if you understand time horizons, and you don't let fear dictate decisions, this is just another chapter, not the conclusion. Sorry I couldn't be with everybody here yesterday. There's just simply too much going on. And I'm excited to let everyone know our Patreon is going to launch in the next week. So you'll be able to see a lot more rants and deep dives into everything that's going on and how we're seeing everything. We're going to update the map right now. A lot going on. We have the United States entering the printed to win it era. Again, printed to win it. That's what we're going to do. But very quietly on the map, I want everyone to take out the map that we have. Bhutan officially launched TER. That's a sovereign-backed gold digital token on Solana. That's backed by gold in that country's SAR region, okay? That's a big thing right there, right? So that's going to go on the east side, okay? That's a very, very big thing that most people aren't talking about. It's in the Himalayan kingdom's digital monetary strategy. They want to bring things in there, and it's quite unbelievable what's happening with that, okay? The tokens, it's fully collateralized by physical gold, and it's issued through GMC with distribution and custody administered by DK Bank. It's Bhutan's first licensed digital bank as part of a broader effort to bridge traditional assets and modern financial infrastructure. TER derived from the word treasure. It's designed to function as a digital store of value. It's one-to-one backed by sovereign gold reserves on-chain custody. TER will become the first digital asset supported by the country's gold reserves, okay? So this is huge. This is huge, right? So again, this is massive, massive. So that's on the eastern side, the eastern tranche, everything. Now, again, on the west side, we had Kazakhstan. They just launched the USDKG, ladies and gentlemen. USDKG, Kazakhstan. It's a gold-backed stablecoin pegged one-to-one to the US dollar with an initial insurance of $50 million, marking a regional first for a state-supervised commodity-backed digital asset. Okay, they're trying to modernize cross payments. So the USDKG, that's going to go on the western side. That's still pegged one-to-one to the dollar with gold. It's going to be issued on Tron. Okay, they're eventually going to try to expand it to Ethereum, but this is something very, very big right now. Okay, and you know, I want everyone to realize that this is a major thing about why precious metals are being forced in place around the world. You know, if you're not paying attention right now, we've been talking about the map silver being stuck in place, what India did, okay? We're looking overall at the macro picture right now, our map, our research about where things are going right now, okay? That's why I'm talking about a long-term perspective right here. You see things are changing. So if you have countries on the eastern side of the world They're making decisions. They want to be with the unit, with BRICS, totally commodity backed, right? Okay, they want that the unit based system, which is just for efficiency. It's not trying to be a world special reserve currency. It's trying to undo that whole regime. Okay, that's why it's an attack on the U.S. dollar and stable coins, right? Okay, now you see other countries saying, "Look, we want to be down with the U.S. We got some stable coins being pegged with that. That's why Kazakhstan, they got down with the dollar situation, and that's very very important. So you're going to have a printed to win it. Now on the map on the west side, I want everyone to put a pin in where Tennessee is in the United States, and that's an REE play. So we got pins in Tennessee, we got pins in Canada, we got some pins in Brazil. This is how we're going to function and transition the REE situation play away from China, which is very important. Okay, again. We're going to see silver probably, in my opinion, go to all-time highs. Gold is going to continue to go to all-time highs. Platinum, palladium's getting ready to make its move. Copper's moving. We're seeing coordination of all commodity prices to stay in place. The reason why the LBMA is saying that physical delivery, demands that are happening is some form of manipulation. No, it's not. It's putting duress on the system that was designed, that they want to take custodian of their metals and hold it where they're doing so they can come up with their own regime of stable coins, whatever that's going to be. We already know what the BRICS unit's going to do, okay? We already also know what the West Side's going to do. Stay with me for a second, okay? You got to understand something. When I talk about 24 months that people knew that the carry trade was done, we saw what was happening in a variety of markets in different synthetic derivative plays that were very, very exotic, and they started to unwind. And everybody on Wall Street, at least that I know, everybody talks to everybody. Everybody knows everybody. It's a very, very small world. The crypto space is relatively new. When you look at the pure size of it, it's not nearly the size of the other mature markets, right? That's why we're very, very early. But a lot of these players started cycling out of XRP when XRP was in like the $3.40 range, $3.50 range. They were starting to cycle out of this. It was used for a lot of reasons because XRP has the most action over in Asia, okay? And that's where the carry trade was being, created and unwind. And the carry trade did not work for the Japanese. So when I say that we're going into a printed to win it situation, I don't see how that's going to work out well for us in the end. And I am a financial realist, okay? I look at the map that we create, I look where we're going. That's why I say XRP is like oil, okay? Demand and consumption down the line. That's why you can see on our map, you can see these two new stable coins that were just coming out, right, from two different countries. That's why all these things are happening, okay? People are picking sides right now. This is very, very important right now, okay? So when you see that things were being unwound, it's not the end of the world. And I could give you a plethora of examples of everybody that was all the way in one trade. And when that trade blew up, they got crushed, okay? And when they get crushed, it will leverage people come out first. That's why in a couple of videos, if you're new here, ladies and gentlemen, you got to go back when I talk about leverage, and that indicator is getting crushed right now. That means people are fully taking ownership of their XRP and coins, right? Because you see the world is changing right now, okay? So to make sure that everyone's got the conviction and clarity of why you're in this. I don't want anyone to be upset when you see red days. I want you to know that red days are your friend because you're in this for the long run. When we begin to print it to win it next year, and that fully goes into effect, and we got more bills in Congress that are going to be passed that are going to actually help the whole structure, because this is what's got to happen right now, right? And why stable coins are going into this situation with treasuries, we don't have enough allies left there in a financial situation to continually buy our debt. The world is changing. The whole map is changing. So when you come outside and you look at where we're going, right? Like almost how Christopher Columbus, he had a vision. He knew where he wanted to go. He knew what was going to happen, right? His conviction will not be changed. His conviction will not be changed. This is for your future, right? Because the carry trade in Japan allowed your mortgages to be depressed, allowed you to have cheap access to money, and that cheap money in the system, cheap auto loans, okay, cheap everything, right? It's not like that anymore. And most people that I was talking to, what they were doing with the free money, they put in the most speculative things possible. And why the most speculative things possible is because there was no risk for them on the downside. They could only make money. So if you're given free money, you will put it into the instrument, the financial instrument that can make you the most money, because there's no risk to the downside because you got that money for free. So cryptos, tech stocks. But again, the hedging is costing Japanese fund managers simply too much money to keep doing this. So yeah, you're seeing leverage get cut up right now like sushi. They're done. Thank you for playing. Don't pass go and collect $200. I need you to see where we're going and why. I need you to understand when I give you these updates, and we'll update in the map to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited that our Patreon is going to launch next week, and I hope a lot of people who want to learn, and I read the comments. I love reading your comments. Big shout out to the XRP Army Worldwide, all Wolfpack. Please keep it coming. I like to know where everyone's from. I like to know why you're doing this and why. I love this because this is our own little Wolfpack that we're going to see to the end, okay? Because I'm going to be here on this channel until the Lord takes me away. So don't worry about that. Reading the comments, I'm going to be here. We're in a pack. We're packing up. And I hope more of everybody who really wants to go to the next level, who really wants to see what I saw and learn, please do come into our Patreon and please learn whatever levels you want to do, however you want to see this. Because when you take a look at this, right, and you see what the world is going, and I'm trying to paint this picture for you, in the time that I have, and I'm going to make sure to carve out some time so that we are here every day, but the Patreon will be every day and everything like that. It's going to be much more what you see in a family office, in the fund-to-fund office, and consulting. You're going to see a lot more of that. And for people that want to take it to the next level, you're going to have options there for you as well. But you got to see the whole picture of where we're going. Look, when these guys blow up, these traders and people that I know that have built careers because someone's father, someone's been in this hedge fund forever, they don't stress test this. They don't realize that nothing lasts forever, okay? Nothing lasts forever. It's like the whole strategy, castles in the sky. Eventually, it's got to come back to reality. They don't stress this. 24 months ago, everybody knew that this was happening, right? That's why I love the contrarian perspective. I love being totally, bushwhacking my own way. And that's why people retain myself in my organization, because I like having boardroom fights and arguments with people. I love this. But being a lifelong learner, I said, please give me the facts and tell me this. And we're going to have a historical conversation right now. And I'm going to use my brain and my mind. I don't need anything else to go through this. And we're going to talk about where we're going and why. And if I'm wrong, I will shake your hand. We'll go down to the steakhouse, right? And, we'll talk more about this because I want to see why you see what it is, right? So when people say the carry trade's over, we knew it 24 months ago. That doesn't mean that all that money flows into the next speculative asset. That just means assets have to go down. Ladies and gentlemen, the theta, the time value of that money's got to be put to work. So these people have to actually fulfill their disclosure sheets and what clients sign and what their returns are going to be. So that's why they're flooding into the metals markets right now. They're flooding into commodities. I truly expect, in my professional opinion, okay, commodity prices are going to go on a tear. We're going to see a rip your face off rally, okay, and it's going to be unbelievable in all of these metal markets because this is where everyone's going to follow the trade. This is what everyone's doing, okay? This is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. But if you want to hear a lot more about this, I hope everyone comes into our Patreon and in different ways when they can see all this and they'll get exposed to myself, our team globally, and it's going to be phenomenal. But a lot of exciting things there. Everyone, I need you to turn your mind to steel. I need you to have the fortitude of why you got in this. You're in this market now for the long run, okay? You're in this market now for your retirement, for your family. Stop looking at what's going to happen day to day. Please stop. There's no Messiah this. The Messiah is our research, our recce of why we're doing this, okay? There's blood in the street. There are funds going under. Yesterday's heroes, today's zero, okay, as far as I'm concerned. That's why we talked about positioning sizes. And ladies and gentlemen, the people commenting about what I say, this is open outcry, local commodity trader language that people said, right? Okay, with the hand signals. But that's what I got for you today. So thank you so much for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, this brought you clarity. Make sure you like and subscribe. It generally helps the channel. Your engagement helps get this information in front of many people, more people, and it helps me understand what you guys want. By putting your engagement, I understand what to bring to you, okay? So thank you so much for spending some of your Saturday morning with us, right? Your support will always allow me to keep bringing this to people, and you as well. But again, I'm only with this for the people that are here right now. This is not a popularity contest, for myself and our organization. We want to help the people that are here. The people want to learn how to help themselves. That's why we're here right now, okay? As always, I want you to stay emotionless. No emotion, ladies and gentlemen. No emotion, okay? If you have emotion, you end up getting destroyed and whacked like these other funds on the street that are being destroyed right now, okay? Because the biggest names are the who's who. They're heroes today, they're zeros tomorrow, they're getting cut up like sushi. That's what it is, okay? But staying with me, you will become Gucci. You will have that clarity. You will understand why you went into this. You will have become disciplined, okay? This content is for informational entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will benefit the most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have two choices. You can be like the crowd, reacting after the move, rationalizing why they missed it. telling themselves they'll never happen again, or you can be the one who saw behind the curtain, the one who understood the infrastructure shift, the one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud, but the ones that change everything are quiet, right up until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink. The world is distracting you with noise while XRP continues developing behind the scenes and building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. Your move now will be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. This opened your eyes, smash that like button, ring the bell, leave your comment with your thoughts, turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to the Crypto Republic, where we break down the major global banking trends shaping digital assets today, giving you context, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay in the Republic.